Okay. Okay, I would like to, this session is entitled Experience Evolution, and I am delighted to welcome Bill and Mary Kendrick, owners of the award-winning tourism business Experience PEI, for this morning sandbox session. Well, welcome, Bill and Mary.
Morning. Thanks for inviting us.
So what we're going to do is we're going to, over the next hour, we're going to talk about how we developed our business, how we have pivoted during the COVID times, and then we'll leave questions to the end so that we can cover. We're going to go quickly. So if you have a question, please write it down, and then we can get back to it at the end. We started Experience PI in 2006. We are one of the oldest and the largest provider of experiential tourism in Canada. We started based on having hands-on experiences for our guests and our clients, and so that they could actually have a learning experience. And it's a lot of our experiences, we have 20 of them, and a lot of them are food-based experiences.
And our markets over the years that we've been in business, of course, we started out in the FIT market, working specifically with individual visitors because we ran a bed and breakfast. We wanted something for our guests to do, and then it grew from there. And we eventually expanded into shore excursions for the cruise ships that come in, tours and experiences for guests on motor coach tours that come to the island, as well as doing activities, delegate activities, and spousal programs for conventions. And we got into team bonding activities for local corporations and for conventions that were coming who wanted kind of like some fun team bonding activities. And these markets were developed, and they grew incrementally from the initial experiences that we developed. It grew into those markets because opportunities came along, and we took advantage of the opportunities. And we felt, when you take a look at the markets that we have, we thought we were diversified within tourism. We thought, if there's a downturn in one of them, we'll always have the other ones. And of course, like everybody, nobody ever envisioned that everything would collapse, which is what happened for 20 and 21. All of our traditional markets disappeared. And we're going to talk about what the impact of that has been on us and how we adapted to the COVID travel restrictions and protocols and that. But we're going to go back and sort of start at the beginning to give you a sense of how we got started and how we grew the business.
Well, we started into tourism in 2001. We actually restored a 100-year-old farmhouse and turned it into a bed and breakfast inn that we rebuilt, and builded a documentary for Home and Garden Television about it. And so that actually helped us to get into the business, because we could point to the documentary that helped guests feel welcome because they'd seen the documentary. We only had 5 bedrooms, and so it limited us, to revenue. We did every year for 5 years, for the first 5 years, we decided that we would do a new thing each year and introduce things that we could do. So we had organic gardens on the property. We had biodiversity lectures on the property. We used to do unique things, picnics that people would take away. We did evening meals that we started, but we got to the point that everybody wanted to stay every night, and that wasn't the point of seeing the island or seeing what the island was all about. So we had to restrict it to arrival meals and departure meals. And so at the time, we decided we needed to be able to, again, make ourselves different. And so I was able to attend GMIST to look at what experiential tourism was. And at the time, Bill was a documentary producer and he was traveling the country. So I wanted to get him home. And to do that, GMIST was perfect. We learned about hands-on activities. We learned about the possibilities of using our neighbors as partners with us to be able to discover, what the island was about and to get that personality of local people to mix with the opportunity of meeting an islander, not just in happenstance. And so our first experience that we had basically was with an oyster fisher who was just half a kilometer from our inn. And we had approached him about taking guests out in his boat and showing the process of oyster fishing. Our Salutation Cove was a 3-minute walk from our inn, and guests would come back from the walk in the morning before breakfast, and they'd say, what are those guys doing with the wooden sticks in the boats? And so we took the opportunity to say, well, I wonder if they would be interested in becoming a partner with us and take people out on the boat. And we ran with that experience for 8 years until we were bringing too many clients to them that we were interfering with their oyster business. And that's a good thing, right? But they got the opportunity to go out on the boat. They got the opportunity to learn about oyster production. They learned how to shuck an oyster. They had the advantage of being able to take oysters with them when they left, which was a good thing for us because a lot of them were coming back to our bed and breakfast. So we got to eat the oysters as well. So when we're looking at experiences, we always looked at the senses. We always felt that you had to include, a sense of place, a sense of history, a sense of culture, and a sense of engagement in this experience. Having the taste of the oyster is memorable. The providers that we looked at, we always looked at them as being life experience providers. And they were. Most of them had 20 to 25 years of life experience in the experience that we were asking them to do. And to this day, we still have 6 or 8 of them that have been with us for 17 years. But we don't let the experience get old. We revise it and update it every 2 to 3 years. So there's always something new. So if a client did it 5 years ago and they come this year, they're going to see something different. When we were looking at our motivators as far as what was attracting people to come to the island, we always looked at what tourism was being able to promote. And so tourism was promoting coastal culture and cuisine. So we always aligned our experiences based on those things. So when we started, the oyster experience was our first. We did clamming experience, sand sculpting, food tours. We own a racehorse for an evening. So we partnered with our racetrack so that they could actually get in and look at grooming the horse and then go and watch the races after. And then there was food involved. We have farm experiences, lobster boat experiences. And one of our best is falconry experience that we've been able to take it in many directions on a personal level, with small groups, with bus groups, and with cruise ship groups. So it gives an opportunity for us to expand in different areas.
So as I mentioned, we started in the FIT market, started with offering just for our guests, and quickly realized that with 5 rooms, we might have 12 to 13 people. And even if every one of them took one of our experiences, it's not a particularly successful business model to only have a market of 10 to 13 people. So we eventually, we grew the business, we separated it from Briarcliff Inn into Experience PEI. And our focus was on, couples and families, small group personal experiences. And we thought that was the market that we would succeed in. But then we started to see that we were approached by Aquila Tours out of New Brunswick, who is a shore excursion provider, tour operator in St. John. And at the time, they were handling shore excursions in Charlottetown as well. And I went on a best practices mission into New England to look at the cruise ship and shore excursion business, and connected with Melanie Colpitz from Aquila, and we got sitting in the back of a bus, and she says, I really like what you're doing. Is there any way we can adapt one of your experiences for a slightly larger group? And initially, we thought that was going to take away from the intimacy of the experience and the experiential activity. But she was really interested in our tongue and shuck experience. And so we found a way to be able to maintain the hands-on component, the intimacy, the personal connection to the fishermen, and still have about 16 to 18 people in it. And that started us off in shore excursions. The next year, Aquila decided that it really didn't make a lot of sense for them to be sending people over from St. John when there was a cruise ship in Charlottetown. And so they gave us an introduction to all of the cruise lines that they had been dealing with. We spent 2 days in St. John doing cruise ship 101 with Aquila, and that kickstarted our relationship with the cruise lines. And now it's grown to that's 50% of our business is doing shore excursions, and we work with about 75% of the cruise ships that come into Charlottetown. And because we found ways to be able to offer our experiences for larger groups, that provided us the opportunity to start and work with the motor coach industry. Again, we had to do some adaptation because suddenly we're now looking at a bus with 40 people on it. What can we offer? And some of our things we can't offer because it would just not work for groups that size. But we have developed other experiences, and the motor coach industry is looking for that kind of product. Their primary product that they offer is sightseeing tours, but they're also now looking for, particularly if they're coming to your location for more than a day, they're looking for these kinds of unique, hands-on, authentic experiences, opportunity for their guests to interact with locals. So, and it's also a good way to entice the tour operator, the motor coach operators, to stay an extra day in your area because you're offering them something unique that nobody else is offering. They're a challenge to work with, no question. They're very price sensitive, and they are planning 2 years, 3 years out. So it's not something that today you can decide and offer a product and get it into the market this year. We've had to build over time, and doing the larger groups led us into working with the conventions and that come in, and so we've been able to adapt a number of different things that we've done. And I'm going through the slides because I'm forgetting to change them here because I'm yakking. And our reputation for being able to work with groups led us into doing things, team bonding activities for some corporate groups and conventions and that. So that's allowed us to diversify our market into all of these different market areas.
It's also been a lot of fun because I mean, some of these team bondings, as you can see, the Lego challenge, there was 110 people at that challenge. And, you know, they had to build a city. They had to have a mechanical, something that moved in their city. They had to create a tourism mandate for their city. So, you know, they worked in groups of 20 and 20 to 25. And then they also had a bartender so that somebody would actually go and get drinks for them, because this was not only a learning experience for them, but this was an opportunity to bond and have fun with people that they only saw once or twice a year. And they were very competitive. We couldn't believe how many people were stealing things from other people, but that's the challenge, right? You know, that you give. So the next time we did it, we had to put in some deterrence, you know, for them not to steal parts or not to steal things, you know. But there was also a charity aspect to it. You know, they gave bikes away. They gave Lego sets to, you know, 10 children that needed, you know, to be able to experience some fun. And, you know, so when COVID hit, we thought we were diversified. We thought, well, we've got cruise ships, we've got bus tours, we've got conventions, we have the independent market. We'll be fine if one or the other goes up or down. None of us thought that it would all collapse, you know, and that you would have to pivot and learn something totally new to do. And so the Maritimes and PEI all decided that, you know, we're basically for 2020 and 2021 are going to go local. So we're going to go in the Maritimes and we're going to have this Atlantic bubble. But that also presented challenges, basically because we were all about making them islanders, getting them to learn experiences of islanders. Well, the Maritimes, they're not going to pay for sandcastle building. They're not going to pay for clamming. And the price point is very different compared to what the international clients would pay. You know, so we were gearing all of our providers with higher end experiences, which we had no problem getting from the international market, from the cruise ship market, from the bus tour market. So again, we had to now start looking at lower price points to be able to establish. The market was also smaller because, you know, not everybody in 2020 and 21 were doing any traveling at all. So we had to look at different ways of looking at it. But as we always do, we always go back to the market analysis, and they said that locals would be interested in doing these things. So they would be interested in doing the outdoor activities, the hiking and the kayaking and canoeing and beaches, sightseeing and exploring, having small activities, and you know, and this would look like a deal to them because basically they would be doing different things, but in different locations. But because of COVID, we had all these health concerns that we had to address. So as you can see from the top of our website, you know, we gave attention to, you know, the protocols for the health measures, you know, because people wanted to be safe. You wanted to make sure that they felt safe when they came, so that if we told them ahead of time that we were having these precautions and we were doing these health related things, that they would be prepared. We also wanted to give them peace of mind on uncertain times. So we refunds to their tickets, so that we made sure that nobody had to pay. If they had booked something, they could cancel it with no consequence to it. As long as they gave us 3 days worth of notice. And so again, we were going into 2020 looking at $12,000 worth of refunds automatically. And those are the monies that you actually start with at the beginning of the season. If you're an entrepreneur, you always make sure that you have a stash of startup cost, and that you can cover salaries and all of that for a couple of months into your season, so that you can do that. So, well, we didn't have a season in 2020. Basically, nobody came, everything was locked down. So we had to pivot, and Bill will talk about pivoting.
So, we had to come to accept the fact that the types of experiences that we traditionally offer were not things that appeal to a local or a maritime market. And, that took some shifting of thinking on our part, that we knew our product was good. It was desirable by people who were coming here, but we had to accept the fact that it really wasn't going to appeal to local and an Atlantic bubble market. And we weren't sure what would. I suspect many of you went through that same kind of gnashing of teeth, trying to figure out, how do I, if the only market we have are the people who live near us, live on our island, or the few that might come from off island, what would appeal to them? And since our markets have been or were during COVID or prior to COVID, it was people who now couldn't come to PEI. And we thought, is there a way for us to connect with them? If they can't come to PEI, can we do something and send PEI to them? And so with the first new product that we developed to deal with COVID was we called PEI in a Box. And it was a collection of some iconic PEI foods. People come here for our seafood. And we thought, well, can we put together something that people could purchase, either islanders could purchase and send away to family and friends, or people who were thinking and dreaming about coming to PEI could get a little bit of PEI at home. So we developed a series of food boxes. The first one was based around lobster. And so we created a box that when you got it, you could make a couple of lobster rolls from it. We sent PEI potatoes so they could make French fries. We had cow's cheese, a couple of bottles of raspberry cordial. And what we also did is we created an online guidebook that we send them a link to. And so there was a video of a chef. One of the people from our Taste the Town food tour is a woman that's known as the Queen of Fries, and she does these incredible hand-cut double fried French fries and lobster rolls. So we did a video with her showing how she makes her lobster rolls and how she creates her French fries. And so the video also had music from an island artist that we recorded. And so you could have music while you were having your lobster rolls. And we had an actress who read from the story of Anne and Diana getting into the cordial. And so we enhanced the product beyond just the food that was in it. We also created a clam chowder box. So there was a bottle of bar clams that went with that. And we had a young chef do a video for us on how to make clam chowder, seafood chowder. So that allowed us a couple of things. One is it allowed us to keep our brand in the market, and it also allowed us to generate some revenue when we had no revenue coming in at all. And we sold over 400 boxes, and they ranged in price from $75 to $100. So that generated some revenue for us that kept the cash flow going. And we also, the research was showing that islanders in particular, they were getting out and exploring. They were getting in their cars and going out for the old Sunday drives. And talking to friends and listening to others and seeing things posted online, people were asking, well, where should we go? Here they are, they live here, but they haven't really explored the island, and the places they go to tend to be the same places they always go to. So we took that concept and we developed a smartphone-based series of discovery hunts. So we created an itinerary for the East, West, Central, and Charlottetown that they could use their smartphone to follow a set of information that would lead them to a location, and at that location they would find a word that would unlock the next destination. So it became a little bit of a scavenger hunt for information. It was built around history and folklore and local information, and so we started to offer those in 2020, and again they sold quite well. We got very positive feedback from locals who were saying, yeah, geez, that took me to places I'd never even knew existed. So we took what people were doing and tried to find a way to build it into a product that they would be interested in. And the most recent initiative that we have launched is the Island Walk. And the Island Walk was developed in 2019 and only sort of became available for people in 2020. Perfect timing, when no one was coming here to do anything. It's a 700-kilometer long walk around PEI. It was developed by a couple of people involved with the Island Trails who had done the Camino walks in Portugal and Spain, and they thought they would develop something comparable here, and so it was created, and a few people did it in 2020. Last year, as restrictions started to ease, there was more interest in it. People were coming from off island to do this walk, either the entire walk or a partial walk, because it's divided into 32 sections. And if you do the entire 32, it'll take you a month to do it. So it's a great tourism product because it brings people here who stay for a month. And what we started to hear was people were trying to plan their itinerary, and they were they couldn't figure out, well, where do I stay at each of the section stops? Where are the accommodations? How do I get from a section stop to my accommodations? Are there shuttles available? How do I find all of that? So we saw an opportunity to develop an Island Walk coordination service, which we started in January. And we were overwhelmed by the response to it and the number of clients who have come to us who want us to build their itinerary, identify the accommodations, book the accommodations, arrange the transportation, and so we charge a flat fee for our service. They will pay for their own accommodations and their own transportation. We just arrange it all for them, and present them with an itinerary. And it's been extremely successful for it. And we see this as a product that, although it grew out of somewhat the need for us to adapt to COVID, it's going to continue on, as is our discovery hunts. Our PEI in a box, we have wrapped that up. We're no longer offering that now that people are able to come here. We saw a steep decline in the interest in it, so we no longer do that.
And when we talked about pivoting, I mean, these were 3 products that, we never thought would be viable, and also, I mean,
it wasn't something we imagined we would ever get into.
Yeah, exactly.
Shipping and logistics and that kind of.
We're just extremely lucky that we had a good storage facility and a packing area that we could do it, because, we've run our business the 15 years before with no stock, no material things that we had to buy. Whereas the box, we had to buy lobster, we had to buy cordial, we had all of the storage capacity and boxes to ship it and that. So basically, it was a pivoting thing. Now in 2022, we're looking at bookings are up. We used to have bookings through, wouldn't start until May and June. Now bookings started in February. People are very eager to get out there. The cruise ships, we're gonna have 72 cruise ships this year. All the lines that we've done, several conventions have come back. I think it'll take a couple of years for conventions to come back totally. Bus tours are back, and we booked 3 or 4 different bus tour companies already for our experiences. Where we've run into the challenge is pricing. Everything has gone up. Our transportation has gone up 45%. And so to go back, and the cruise ships, they're very tough. They're very tough on their pricing, and they're coming back saying, sharpen your pencil, we need lower rates. And we've had to stick our ground and say, and take the possibilities of losing 1 or 2 by saying, these are our prices. We have given you the best price we can. So we always say to people, you do your best for your clients, but make sure you do the best for you as well, because you need to make profit. And if you don't make profit, you are not going to be a company that's been in existence like we have. We're one of the lucky ones that have survived.
So as for the future, who knows what it's going to be? I mean, the predictions from last year, some of them are starting to come true. Others, I'm not so sure about. I think one of the things that we expect to see is there going to continue to be a need to assure people that where they're coming is safe. Even when all the restrictions are lifted and you no longer have to have proof of vaccination and wear a mask, I think people are still going to be concerned about health. So I think we have to continue to assure them that this is that our locations are safe places to come. And I suspect that we're going to see, despite what appears to be a pent-up demand for travel, the suggestions or the analysis that's coming out is that people are going to probably travel less, but travel for longer periods of time, which is going to be a benefit to us. If they're going to be here for a week or 2 weeks, they want to travel, they want to get back to exploring places and that, and that I think is going to be of benefit, particularly for companies like ours that are in the small group market, which I think you're going to see more families traveling together, extended families, and that wanting to stay somewhat in their own bubble, so to use the COVID term, I think those of us that are providing that kind of activity, it's going to help us. We're going to be in a better position. So, and the indications are that higher end travelers are going to be the first to resume traveling. And as I'm finding with the island walk, as I'm off making providing people with options for accommodations, I'm finding that I'm hearing more and more from people saying price is not an issue for us. You know, we're coming, we're going to do this. We haven't done anything for 2 years. We intend to spoil ourselves, and hopefully we all will benefit from that type of new or returning visitor. So we'll stop talking now, and if there's any questions, comments that people have, we're happy to answer them.
It's Chris White here. I was just wondering if you could give a little more information on the Discovery Hunt application, how you went about developing that. Did you use a company that had existing software and developed your program, or is that something that you had custom built?
We looked at an app, but apps are so expensive to create, and it just didn't make sense. And we have our booking platform that we use for our for Experience PEI is called EasyTix, and they've had a lot of issues throughout COVID. They almost went bankrupt because of all the refunds that they had to issue. But as part of their platform, they have this section called Easy Sites, and we used it when we created the guidebooks that went with PEI in a Box. So we then created the discovery hunts using that platform. So it's not an app that people will download. We give them a link when they book. They get a link that is sent to them, and then they just open that link when they want to start the walk, and it allows them to do the walk whenever they want. The link stays live for a week, so they are able to use it. Technically, they could use it multiple times. They could share it. You know, there's no way we can prevent that. And we didn't want to limit it to say, you bought it for today, you got to use it today. We wanted to give flexibility. So we just take the chance that they're not gonna pass it on. You know, we just assume that people are honorable. And
But what's nice about it is there's photos, of history, there's videos on it. It brings the walk alive because you can read the history. And the thing is, there's a lot there, but they can read as much or as little as they want. It's very educational, and it's a lot of fun because it's a challenge. Okay, can I answer and can I get into the next step? You know, that type of thing.
And we do provide them with access to
A rescue number.
to the codes. If you can't find a code, here's a link to the answers so that they don't get stumped.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I love that approach, because we've been looking to do something similar here for a couple of different layers of tourism within the Hampton and our region. But everything that we've looked at has been, app development companies, and like you say, the cost to build is huge, and a lot of times it's the end user has to pay to download their system as well. And yeah, so it very quickly, the price tag on it has gone pretty crazy.
We looked at creating an app, $25,000, and we would still have to do all the work. We'd have to get all of all of the information to them, and you think, okay, now we're big believers in not going in the hole.
Yes.
And we're lucky that we have survived because our business is in our home. I'm a great manager of money, but unfortunately we have lost a few things during that. Our daughter and her wife came out 5 years ago to come in and take over the business. We were supposed to retire last year, and they've had to go out and get full-time jobs. So the business won't turn over to them until next year at the earliest, because we need to nourish our bank account,
Yeah.
Um,
Lovely. Thank you so much.
Margot has a question. She wants to know, I'm wondering if the island walk can be done by bicycle or if it's a structured walk.
It can be done by bicycle. I have about 3 or 4 clients that are coming and doing e-bikes, and one is doing regular bike. The challenge that I'm finding trying to coordinate the bike version of it is lack of shuttles that can handle
carry
bikes.
bikes.
So, some of my clients, because they're using e-bikes, they've got extended range over those who are using regular bikes. So I've been able to build itineraries that allow them, they'll do 2 or 3 sections in a day. And then I build the itinerary so they only have to go maybe an extra 5 or 10K to get to their accommodation. So I've tried to create an itinerary that doesn't require any shuttling. It's a piece of the puzzle that is missing right now. And because the walk is still very, very early in its development stage, it's only been there for 2 years. They only this year got, the interactive online map that they can see, and people can use it to try and plan their own itineraries. But I know the feedback I'm getting from my clients is they're going, your service is worth every penny. And I started out not because I didn't know how long is it going to take me to develop an itinerary for a client. And I started out charging one price, and I realized that it was taking more time than I had anticipated. So we increased, we went from $325 to plan a full walk to $500. We were getting so much business. I was actually hoping that at $500 it would slow down the number of people. It hasn't.
Yeah. So we're going to increase the price again.
But I'm anticipating that this is something that from January to probably the end of May is when people are going to want this service, because by then they'll have made their decision to come. And so if they want a service like this, so it works very well with tourism, because that's the time period when generally we're not generating any revenue, that January to May period. It's usually a slower period, so I have the time to work on this kind of thing, and I'm learning ways to speed up the process or streamline the process. But it's something that I think is walking is there's a lot of interest in walking. Majority of my clients are age 50 plus, and so many of them are retired, so they can come for a month. And some of them, I build the itineraries for them, and they say every 10 days I want a rest day, or anytime I do a section that is more than 25 kilometers in the day, I want a rest day the next day. So that's extending the amount of time that they're here. So, boy, if you can have a tourism product that brings people here for more than a month, and those kinds of walks and that exist everywhere. There, you've got great hiking trails in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, and there's ways to look at those and see if you can work in that type of thing. Because certainly with my clientele, they were overwhelmed trying to figure out where do I stay, and where do I get shuttles?
Because
So-
they don't know. And the thing is that we have identified several areas that really need guest houses and B&Bs and even hostels and opportunities that, people could start a small business, especially transportation. But, a lot of the inns and B&Bs are taking that up because the government is supplementing them for their transportation as far as
for
the
the
cost
insurance.
the cost of the insurance. Because for business insurance, it's $5,000 to $7,000 to put on, and that's a huge amount if it's only a part-time thing. So, yeah.
Thank you. I think Nancy has a question.
If we still have time, I just have a quick partnership question. How do you, or should I say, do you go see certain people? How do you decide who to partner up with? Or do people come to see you now?
Well, when we first started, it was us coming up with an idea for an experience and then finding someone who can offer it. And they exist within your communities. We started thinking about some people that we knew who were interesting people that we knew would be good storytellers, that they would be engaging with guests. So that's how we started. As we said, with our oyster experience, we had an oyster lease in the cove below where our bed and breakfast was. So we just went down the road and introduced ourselves to the two brothers who ran this operation, and pitched the idea to them. And that's how we got started. Now we still, when we're developing new product, as a lot of it is still self-initiated. We come up with an idea that we think might work, and then we go find somebody who can provide it. But we also now have people coming to us because of our reputation, because we've been around long enough. We get people who come to us and say, I've got an idea for an experience. Is it something that you would be interested in? And usually they don't really know how to create the experience. They just know that they like doing it, and they think other people would like doing it as well. So we work with them to develop the components of it, to help them price it, because many of them have no idea of their value or their worth. Most of them have said to us in the past, well, I'll do it for free. I just love doing it. And we said, no, this is a business, because if it's successful and we've got you really busy with it, it won't take long before you're not making any money at it, and you're not going to take our phone calls anymore for booking. So
and our most our top experiences, they can make $40,000 to $50,000 in their summer, and the reason they can do that is because our split is 75 to them, 25 to us, and which we've always thought has been extremely reasonable, because they do the bulk of the work. But what other things that they love is we take all the reservations, we do all the advertising, we do all the running of the experience, so that they don't have to worry about the money. And we're really good payers. We pay the 15th and the last day of the month, and I have never missed that in 17 years. And they get it e-transferred or whatever they want to do. So, and they get a complete statement of who they've served, how many people were in the party, and all of the rest of it. And all they have to do is take that to their tax person. And part of a lot of people, they're artisans. They're fishermen, and they don't like the paperwork. So to not have to ask for the money when they show up, it's a big bonus to them. And we know that our business has taken a time to develop. We are just shocked that there hasn't been other people in other parts of the Maritimes that haven't started another experience, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, because it gives it gives the artisan and the provider such a leeway to, and, municipalities can start it, and have providers and do that type of legwork because they have the people to do that. We love what we do, and Bill and I, we share everything we do, but we have our separate offices and we have our separate duties, and we're in our 50th year of marriage, and that's how we survived.
That's awesome.
It's ours is a very transportable business model. It can work anywhere. It just takes a champion. It takes someone who looks at it and says, I could do this. And you don't have to, you're not going to reach our level overnight. We started with 5 experiences the first year. And
we added them each
and
year.
We dropped some, we usually give an experience 3 years. And if it doesn't sell or doesn't sell very well over 3 years, and we've changed it along the way, and that, there's a point at which it's of no value to us and of no value to our partner, for it to continue.
Yeah,
there are a number of operators in both New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. I've met them through GMIST sessions and things like that, and they're doing their own experiences. They themselves are the experience provider, and they have developed 1 or 2 or 3. There's Perry Gotel here with Tranquility Cove Adventures. He is an experience provider himself. So everything that he offers, he's at the center of it. Our model of us being an experience broker is something that anyone could take that concept and use it in their community. Doesn't have to be province wide. We just happen to be a small province. Hampton has probably got the population somewhat equivalent, or at least, in your geographical area, we've got 130,000 people who live here, but that's not our market. Our market is everybody who comes here, which is 1.5 million people. But within your geographical area, within an hour of your location, there are so many interesting people doing interesting things. It's finding them, convincing them that this is an opportunity for them and for you. And when Mary says we do a 75-25 split, we work with the provider and we establish first what they want to be paid, what they need to be paid, and we help them figure that out in terms of what are your costs to provide this experience. Then what do you need to be paid, whether it's on an hourly basis or whatever. So we get that decided, and then we top it up. We add our 25% to that in terms of establishing the retail price for the experience, because we've always worked on the basis that our providers need to be adequately compensated for what they are providing, and they need to be happy with what they are paying, because we don't want them to ignore our phone calls, or when they get the email from our booking system that says your experience has been booked. We want them to put that in their calendar and be ready for it.
Well, thank you so much, Bill and Mary. I'm just wondering if there's any more questions now before we close our session for today. I'm aware of the time here, and I know everybody's very busy. Bill, it was Bill and Mary, great session, lots of information. It was wonderful listening to you both.
If anyone has questions, that they just send it to adventure@experiencepei.ca, and we'd be pleased to answer anything. It's definitely an evolving situation as far as tourism, and we've pivoted and we've succeeded pivoting, and
Well,
so.
we've survived. That was the key, to
That's
survive to get to 2022 and a reopening of the market. So
well, thank you
Thank
so
for
much.
attending.
Thank you again, Bill and Mary, and thanks everyone for attending. And please don't forget to do the survey at the end of the session. It'll only take a few minutes. And everyone have a wonderful day
and a wonderful season.
and a wonderful.
Thanks so much. Good season to you too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.